I just turned 30 and these are the top things I am gonna stop doing as I've reached this age. And this is coming from a recovering overachiever, perfectionist, people pleaser person who has started a business when she was 24 and basically been talking on stages in different places in the world, and someone who is a little bit hard on herself a lot. And that's essentially the first thing I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna be hard on myself too much. Now, it's probably still going to be in there, but as someone who did grow up as the eldest daughter and granddaughter, being hard on myself kind of is in my belief system, and I'm starting to unlearn what that means for me. And what that basically would look like is anytime that I fail, I stumble, I just look at it as, what am I supposed to be learning from here? What am I supposed to be taking from this lesson? What am I going to do moving forward after now I've learned this, after now I've stumbled? And it's very easy for someone who is still trying to unlearn a lot of that to kind of slip back to just being really harsh, to feel really bad whenever something really bad happens. But I have failed, gotten rejected. I've stumbled so many times in my 20s trying to reach for a lot of the goals that I have in mind, that I have planned for myself, that I've kind of gotten to the point where I know I will just do better next time. That I've now had to learn this lesson so I can do better next time. The next thing I'm not doing anymore as I'm entering my 30s is essentially giving the wrong people too many chances. And this is something that I really had to learn the hard way. And if you guys watched my last video on the lessons I had to learn the hard way, people have been kind of very much a central point in my life where I would give the wrong people the wrong chances, or I would the right people not enough chances. And I think I've kind of started getting to the point where I can learn, or I can start filtering and seeing if someone is worth that second chance, or if someone is just, that's basically who they are. They've said that this is the kind of person that they are, and that's basically it. And a lot of the time, people do need that breathing space. People do need that second chance. But if you are putting it, or if they basically keep making the same mistake with you at stake, basically, with where it's you who's going to get hurt, you who's going to not really understand why they had to do it in the first place, then it's probably not worth it for that person to get another chance as well. Next is I'm gonna stop believing that I have to be the expert. And what this means is a lot of the time I just wanted to do everything on my own. I wanted to do everything by myself. Partly because it's kind of how I had to cope and understand who I wanted to be. But at the same time, that also stopped other people who could do things better than me, who could do things much faster than me in a cleaner way, basically. I'm basically stopping them from shining a light towards what they love to do versus the things that I might not like or enjoy as much doing. So as a really good example, of course, for me, I teach a lot of entrepreneurs how to be able to delegate, how to hire a virtual assistant. That is literally my whole business is a virtual assistant agency. And I've had to really learn kind of harshly that if I was just the one doing everything in the business, everything would crash down on me. If I was the only one doing this job, everything would crash down on me. And because I have to get the business to the point where I can step away from it, where I'm not the bottleneck, where I'm not doing everything, I've had to learn to really give way for people who can do things better than I ever could. So that's kind of one of the harsh truths that I have had to learn for myself, on my point of view anyway, is that I don't have to do everything by myself, and I can give way to people who can probably do it better than I can. Next thing that I'm not doing anymore going to my 30s is just not overly communicating. And this is something that I had to really learn to be okay with, is telling the same story to different people, being able to be open when it came to, again, just over communicating. Like if I told this one person doesn't mean that this other person would know or understand. I kind of had this really bad experience when I was starting out on public speaking, where I was tackling different angles of a story that I like to tell. And someone said like, oh, we've heard this before. Why are you telling this story now? Like, find another story to tell. And I'm like, you've heard it, but doesn't mean everyone else has heard it. Doesn't mean that it won't help this next person who's never heard it for the first time. So that was kind of a lesson that I had to really learn the hard way, was unlearning that person's point. Because just because you've heard it doesn't mean that it's not going to help the next person, the next person, the next person. And basically what that means for me is It is my responsibility to be clear about my expectations, how I feel, how I think things through, and communicating that with people. Probably not every single detail, but at least over communicating to the point where I know that for me, I have been clear as possible, where it is now up to the other person on how they're going to act, think, say next. That is now up to their responsibility, not mine anymore. So for me, again, that came from personal life lessons and business lessons, where within 2XU, sometimes I would tell one of the managers thinking I already told everyone else and making that mistake. So for inside of 2XU, that's actually funny enough, one of our themes in the next quarter is just over communicate. Just tell as many people if it's an important thing, if it's something that you know will move someone else forward, or is something that will clear away essentially a blockage someone might be having. It's better to communicate that first rather than waiting for things to devolve later on. Next thing I'm not bringing anymore in my 30s is waiting for people. And what I mean by that is I used to have this notion where I would only do this if this person did this. I would only do this if other people in my life wanted to do it. And I kind of had to really get out of that. Of course, part of that is safety. Like, I'm a 4'11" Filipina. I am small enough to be snatched somewhere, but it's also learning to not put a lot of value in other people's opinions about things, especially something that I love and I want to do. So as a perfect example, in the last 4 months, I have been traveling Asia, been doing full-time digital nomad. I don't pay rent. I have all of my stuff in storage. And if I had to wait for business partners, friends, other people in my life to want to do this as well, I would probably keep waiting and waiting and waiting, because of course they have their life to live. But because I have found an amazing husband who does want to travel the world with me, and at the same time, I've kind of gotten to that point where I was just tired of waiting for other people to clear up their plans, to clear up their goals, to match with mine. I kind of got to the point where, no, if this is something that I love, that I want to do, I would rather be the person everyone else is following rather than following or waiting for someone else. So that's kind of something that one of the reasons why I'm doing these videos is it will be also a good contrast 10 years from now to see if I follow the things that I'm saying right now. But it's also for you, as you're listening to this, if there's something that you've been wanting to do and you've been putting it off, you've been waiting for other people to do it, waiting for circumstances to happen, just step into it. Just kind of start making it happen for yourself, because then you're not putting it off for someone else. You're just doing it. You're just getting it done. And for most of my life, I've done that anyway, where I've kind of just started something without waiting for anyone else, and then just took all of the consequences because it was up to me to make my own dreams and my goals happen anyway. So if you are on that fence of like trying to figure it out, maybe just take your smallest step towards it. And of course, one of the things that I'm not bringing much into my 20s is that hustle culture. Now, as I said in my last video, it was important for me to go through that hustle culture, basically that hustle in that first 3 years of my 20s to figure out what I wanted to, figure out the career I wanted to build, figure out what kind of business I wanted to start. And for different parts of my life, I've now gone through phases and stages and different short bursts of hustling. And now as I go into my 30s, I will still hustle, but only to an end goal. Like, it's not going to be my every single day that I'm doing this because this is the person I want to become. I want to redefine what hustle means to me, what working hard means to me, where I do now have the experience, the tools, the skill sets to do better than when I was in my 20s, but also keeping in mind that I don't have to grind just because everyone else is, just because everyone says so, just because everyone else is also doing XYZ. Again, it's about stopping, about looking what everyone else is doing and following through, but also just taking that first or that next step, whatever that looks like for me, and just hustling when I need to, when I know I'm grinding towards a goal, and then stopping, celebrating, taking a pause before I go into the next one. That way I am not, the more that you grind, you're grounding yourself. So the more that I'm not spreading myself too thin when I'm not supposed to be working on a couple of things just because I feel like I have to hustle. And finally, one of the things that I am redefining and things that I'm not going to bring into my 30s is being too shy to celebrate my own wins. And this is something that I kind of go back and forth on a lot, especially if you guys follow me on Facebook or LinkedIn, where I write a lot of the posts. I don't have AI doing it, it's really me writing it, where I would go back and forth between celebrating my wins and then getting really quiet about it, getting really shy about it. I have really learned that I have to be my loudest cheerleader. I have to toot my own horn because no one else will care. Just like how I kind of don't care about other people's wins unless they post about it, unless they share about it. So I've kind of adopted that mindset of not being too humble's not really the right word, and shy is not really the right word. Not to hide whenever I achieve something, when I do something really well. And I know part of this is because there's always that envy, there's always other people who will have something to say, because people will always have something to say. But it's also keeping in mind to celebrate myself, to celebrate me, to celebrate where I'm going in my life, how far I've come, and knowing that I've gotten here because of the steps that I've taken, because of the people I surround myself with, because of the tools and the experience and the skill sets that I've acquired essentially in the last couple of years. And again, tuning my own horn, talking about the things that I achieve, talking about the things that I'm doing, and not waiting for an actual achievement milestone to talk about it, but to talk it through, to talk through how I'm feeling, to talk through how I'm thinking. And that's kind of how I will keep myself accountable throughout the next decade of my life. Now, I am super excited for this next era, this next stage, and I hope you guys are too. Hope you guys have enjoying these mini series of me kind of giving you older sister advice on all of the things that I've learned so you don't have to learn them the hard way. And of course, if you like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button right there. Comment below any questions, anything you guys want to cover, and then for me to cover basically in another video. And if you haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of the videos every Sunday on how to build a career online with AI. And if you are a business owner and you want to learn more about business and AI, make sure to check out my second channel here and check out my latest video right here. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and with that small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!